Hey, Roland Frasier here, and I am going to share with you today some of what I have learned over the last few decades in negotiating thousands and thousands of deals. I have been a student of negotiation all my life, back from the Alex Karras days all the way up to my friend Chris Voss, who has a great book on negotiating called Never Split the Difference. And I've learned a lot in working with and talking with and consuming all of that, but there is nothing like being in the trenches. And so I'm going to give you a couple of things that might be a little different than what you've heard before that I think can be very, very helpful to you. The very first one is, how do you look at this negotiation? Because negotiation to me implies that there is a contest between two people and they are kind of moving against each other, pushing and pulling to try to get what they want out of something at a cost to the other person. And so I want to reframe that and tell you that instead of negotiate, collaborate. And what is collaboration? Collaboration is not we're working against each other. It's that we're working with each other with a common goal in mind of achieving something. So I like to think about, like, how can I frame my interaction with the person that I am working with in a way that puts us on common ground trying to achieve a common thing. So instead of me trying to buy the car for the cheapest price, which actually might not be fair, right? And instead of the seller trying to sell me the car for the maximum price, which also might not be fair, I like to think that, hey, we're going to basically move together towards the idea of the car being sold. That's a little bit different frame. So when I'm going in to buy a business, I'm thinking, how do I help the seller? If I'm the buyer, how do I help the seller get what the seller wants? What could I do that would help the seller get what the seller wants? That doesn't have to be against my interest. My interest is in acquiring the business. The seller's interest is in selling the business. The seller may or may not have an idea what they want for it. If they have an idea what they want for it, then I'm going to do my best to get them what they want for it, as opposed to thinking that I'm going to go in and try to beat them down on the price. The second thing I want to talk about is, how do you position yourself? So positioning yourself in terms of the psychological side of things is really the collaborate versus negotiate. But there's also physical positioning. So when I go into a room and I'm going to negotiate with somebody and it's set up with two chairs on either side of the table, even in a restaurant where I'm at a table for 4 people and it's just 2 of us and one person sits down directly across from me. You really want to physically be on the same side of the table too. So I will move to the side of the table that the seller is on so that we can negotiate or collaborate. We're collaborating now, so that we can talk like this with nothing in between us, as opposed to being directly across the table from me. That I'll do every single time, and it actually makes a difference. You'll watch people's body language. They're kind of stiff if they're at the table on the other side and you're staring them down like that. But you're kind of lean back and you don't have defenses and you don't have a barrier, literally a physical barrier between you when you're talking to the person who's sitting right next to you. So that physical positioning, in addition to the psychological positioning of collaborate, don't negotiate, is really important. The other thing, that kind of an overarching thing to think about, is that it is very possible to lose by winning. And what do I mean by that? Well, when I was younger, I went aggressively, as I said a minute ago. I would always go aggressively for the best deal. And I would beat people down and they would agree to things that they should not agree to. So you can go out there and you can get people to agree to deals that are not fair to them. You can get people to agree to do things that they absolutely cannot do. You never want that. So what I would find is I'd get people to do that, and I was pounding my chest, arrogant young kid saying, oh, look, I was a great negotiator. But then the deals would fall apart. They'd blow up, right? Not all of them, but a decent number of them. And I realized that it was because I wasn't doing a deal that was in something I like to call the zone of fairness. So to me, within every single deal that you go into, every single negotiation, there is a zone of fairness, and anywhere within that zone of fairness, it's okay to make a deal. And it's a deal that will be good for both of you, right? Both of you are going to get what you want out of it. So you want to get an idea of what are the boundaries of the zone of fairness on either side, and then I want you to aggressively collaborate to get the other party to agree on the part of the fairness zone that is best for you, right? That's fine. Just don't beat them into agreeing to something that is not fair to them. And it's very important, I believe, that they're happy with the deal too. The next thing that I want to talk about is taking the temperature of the room. So take the temp. What does that mean? That means that you want to know how desperate, motivated, emotional, calm, satisfied, happy, etc. are all of the people that are involved in the immediate vicinity of the negotiation. And when you do that, you'll know how far you should go in that particular interaction. Because if emotions are high and negative, generally you're going to be better to wait till a different time. You're going to be better off saying, hey, look, I want to get all the information here. I want to understand what's going on. I want to understand what you want. I want to understand what are the challenges that you see with this and have an understanding. And you're really just listening and asking questions to read the room and take the temp, because that's going to give you the information that you need to figure out, how do I collaborate with these people in a way that helps me get to a deal that's within the zone of fairness. The next thing that I want to talk about is play it forward. And this is something that I don't think enough people do. Think of a negotiation or collaboration like you think about chess. Think about it like Wayne Gretzky thinks about hockey, where you skate to where the puck is going. You want to play out the scenarios that are being proposed to you in your mind all the way before you respond. And I say respond as opposed to react, because I find that most people in negotiations are reacting, not responding. A response is measured, thoughtful, and intentional, and takes into consideration all of the facts and all of the circumstances that are going on. The reaction is a quick, emotional reflex, and that's a big difference. So always be measured, never get caught up in the cadence that's set by somebody else, and be sure that you're playing these out. The next thing I want to talk about is, how can you empathize with the people that you are having this collaboration with? So rather than thinking, I need, my needs are, my deal is this, my ideal outcome is that. Those are all good things for you to understand, but then you need to put all of that aside. And if you want to get the best deal, you want to find the points of empathy that you can have so that you understand exactly what it is that is of concern to the other side. What is it that they want to get out of the transaction? What are the challenges that they're having, both financially and emotionally with it? And also, what will their status look like, either to themselves or the people that they're working with, when you finish this negotiation? And if you can figure out what's important to them, and then you can step into their shoes and empathize with them and say, now my collaboration is to get them what they want, which again may not be just price. It very seldom is just price in a deal. There are other things that are driving the deal. So you want to find out those things, and even those things that are impacting price, because if you can give them higher status, or you can get them something else that they want, then they very often will find that they didn't care about price as much as they thought they did. So it's important to have that conversation.